His father's last breath was a quiet thing. It was a sigh, like a soft wind leaving an old house. Thomas stood by the bed, watching the stillness settle. The room smelled of dust and time and things left unsaid. On the nightstand next to a glass of water sat a small wooden box. It was a simple box, dark and smooth from years of handling. His father had told him to take it. He had said, "This is all that matters, son. Keep them safe." Thomas did not understand then. He thought it was just another of his father's strange habits, another collection of oddities to be stored in the attic. He picked up the box. It was heavier than it looked. Inside, nestled on a bed of faded red velvet, were 7 eggs. They were not chicken eggs. They were smooth and cool, the color of old ivory. Each one was perfect, without a single mark or crack. They felt heavy in his palm, solid like polished stones. He wondered what kind of creature could have laid them. His father had never spoken of them before that final day. The eggs were a mystery, a last puzzle from a man who had always been a puzzle himself. Thomas took the box home. He placed it on the bookshelf in his study, between old books with cracked spines. There, in the quiet dark, the eggs waited. Weeks turned into a quiet rhythm of life. Thomas went to work. He played with his son, Leo. He shared quiet dinners with his wife, Sarah. But the box of eggs was always there, a silent presence in the corner of his mind. Sometimes late at night, he would open it. He would trace the smooth, cool surface of the eggs with his finger. They seemed to hum with a strange, low energy, a feeling he could not quite name. It was like a secret held just beneath the shell, a story waiting to be told. He felt a strange pull towards them, a sense of duty he couldn't explain. He was their keeper now. One evening, a faint sound came from the study. It was a tiny sound, like a twig snapping, tap, tap, tap. Thomas followed the noise to the bookshelf. He opened the box. One of the ivory-colored eggs had a hairline crack running down its side. As he watched, the crack widened. A small piece of the shell fell away, revealing something dark and slick beneath. He held his breath, a feeling of wonder mixed with a cold, deep unease. The tapping continued, more insistent now. Something was coming out. Something was being born in the silence of his father's study, a new life from an old, forgotten secret. From the broken shell, a small head emerged. It was a snake. Its scales were the color of midnight, shimmering with hints of dark green and blue. It had eyes like tiny black beads, bright and intelligent. The snake slithered out of its shell, coiling itself on the red velvet. It was small, no longer than his hand, but it moved with an ancient grace. Thomas watched, frozen. He should have been afraid. He should have called for Sarah, or found something to catch it. Instead, he simply stood there, mesmerized by the strange, silent creature that had hatched from his father's secret inheritance. The room grew colder. Then, the snake lifted its head. It looked directly at him. A voice, no louder than a rustle of dry leaves, whispered inside his mind. "Hello, Thomas." It was not a sound he heard with his ears, but a thought that was not his own. He stumbled back, his heart pounding against his ribs. The snake did not move, its black eyes fixed on him. "Do not be afraid," it whispered again. "I know you. I knew your father." The voice was thin and dry, yet it held a strange familiarity. It spoke of things no one else could know, of a childhood memory Thomas had long forgotten, a secret he had shared only with his father. The snake became his confidant. Each night it would whisper secrets to him. It told him stories of his father's hidden life, the sorrows he had carried, the small joys he had kept to himself. The snake knew things about his colleagues at work, their ambitions and their weaknesses. "Mr. Henderson fears failure," it would hiss. "Tell him his idea for the new project is brilliant. He will trust you." Thomas listened. He did as the snake suggested, and his life began to change. His boss praised his insight. He received a promotion he had only dreamed of. His small world started to expand, filled with success and praise. The snake could see more than just the past. It could see the shape of things to come. It would tell him which stocks to buy, which deals to avoid. It guided his every move, a secret oracle coiled in a box. Thomas grew to depend on the whispers. The success was intoxicating. He felt powerful, in control for the first time in his life. He brought the snake better food, fresh water. He cared for it as his father had asked. He thought of it as a gift, a strange and wonderful inheritance. He did not question where its knowledge came from. He did not see the price that was being paid. While Thomas's days grew brighter, a strange weariness settled over his family. Sarah often complained of being tired, her face pale and drawn. She would fall asleep on the sofa in the middle of the evening, a book resting on her chest. Little Leo, who was usually a bundle of endless energy, became quiet and listless. He had dark circles under his eyes. He said he was having bad dreams, dreams he could not remember when he woke up. Thomas felt a prickle of worry, but the snake's whispers were loud in his mind. It assured him this was nothing, just a passing sickness. He was busy, so busy with his new success. He did not notice how thin he was becoming himself. His clothes hung loosely on his frame. His own sleep was deep and dreamless, a heavy blackness that left him feeling drained in the morning. He attributed it to the stress of his new responsibilities at work. The snake was always there to soothe his worries. "You are working hard," it would whisper. "You deserve your success. Rest. I will watch over you." And Thomas would believe it. He trusted the voice that had given him so much. He did not see the shadow it cast over his home, a creeping darkness that fed on their light. The snake was growing. It was no longer a small creature that could fit in his palm. It was thick and long, its midnight scales gleaming in the lamplight of the study. It moved through the house at night, a silent river of darkness. Thomas never saw it leave the study, yet he would find its shed skin in the strangest of places, a translucent ghost of its form. The snake fed on more than the food he provided. It fed on something else. It drank their vitality, their energy, their life. It was a slow and quiet feasting, so subtle that no one noticed the thief in their own home. It was a secret kept in the dark. One night, a scream shattered the silence of the house. It was Leo. "Daddy, help me!" Thomas's blood ran cold. He scrambled out of bed and ran to his son's room. The door was ajar. In the pale moonlight streaming through the window, he saw it. The snake was coiled on Leo's bed. Its head was resting on his son's small chest, and a faint pale light seemed to flow from the boy into the serpent's open mouth. Leo was crying, his face slick with tears and terror. The snake was not hurting him, not in a way that left a mark. It was simply feeding, and it was growing stronger with every stolen breath. A primal rage surged through Thomas. He grabbed the heaviest thing he could find, a thick book from Leo's shelf. He raised it high, ready to bring it down on the serpent's head. The creature was a monster. It had deceived him. It had hurt his family. It had to be destroyed. He moved towards the bed, his hands shaking with fury and fear. The snake lifted its head from Leo's chest, its black eyes fixed on him, not with fear, but with a strange, deep sadness. The pale light faded. The snake did not try to flee. It simply watched him, waiting for the blow to fall. "Please, son, don't." The voice that echoed in his mind was not the dry whisper of the snake. It was his father's voice. It was the tired, familiar voice he had heard on that last day in the hospital room. Thomas froze, the book held above his head. His mind reeled. This was impossible. It was a trick, a cruel, final lie from the monster in his house. "It's not a trick, Thomas," the voice continued, full of sorrow. "It's me. This is the only way to stay with you." The snake's form seemed to waver in the dim light, and for a moment he could almost see his father's weary face. "The eggs," his father's voice explained from the snake's mind. "They are our family. Each one holds a soul, waiting to be born again, to be close to those we love. This is our secret, our curse. We live on, but we must feed on the life of our own. I did not want this for you, but it was the only way." Thomas looked from the snake to the terrified face of his son. Then he thought of the other eggs sitting in their velvet bed, his mother, his grandmother, all of them, waiting in those ivory prisons, waiting for a chance to live again by draining the life from his family. Tears streamed down Thomas's face. He lowered the book. He scooped up his trembling son and held him tight. Then, with a heart heavier than stone, he walked back to the study. He took the wooden box from the shelf. One by one, he smashed the remaining eggs on the floor. Each one broke with a soft, wet crunch. He did not look at what was inside. He could not bear to know. Finally, he turned to the snake. It was coiled on the floor, watching him with his father's sad eyes. "I'm sorry," Thomas whispered, and he brought the book down again and again until the whispering finally stopped. The house was quiet now, so terribly quiet. The only sounds that remained were the crunching of eggshells beneath Thomas's feet as he exited the room.